Well, folks, happy homecoming. It's good to be back in Happy Valley and have our boys back in Beaver Stadium this week as the Purdue Boilermakers come to town. We're coming off a big win last week, obviously, our first road game of the season, our first Big Ten game of the season at night. Tough environment in a blackout. We ended up winning at 59 to nothing. So we're definitely carrying a lot of momentum into this week, which is great. Before we talk about Purdue, though, I was jotting some things down today that actually blew my mind as I'm jotting them down. So I'm just going to share them with you quick. So in the first four games, Penn State's obviously 4-0, and we're 1-0 in the Big Ten. We're outscoring our opponents 200 to 30. Now, that's pretty impressive, and we're averaging 50 points per game. 50 points per game. Now, I mean, 5-6 years ago, if you were to tell me that we would be averaging 50 points per game in the first four games, I think you're crazy. I mean, back then we thought 30 to 35 points was a lot for us. So our offense is definitely moving in the right direction. You know, we got the right guys on offense. We got some explosive players, and that's been showing. We have not given up a single point in 6 quarters of football, which is phenomenal. Our defense has just been playing lights out thus far this season, so they got to keep it up. We've only given up 3 touchdowns all season, and we've allowed 1 touchdown in 4 weeks, one of those weeks being the bye week, obviously, but that 1 touchdown was Pittsburgh in the second quarter. They found the end zone, but that's the last time a team found the end zone against us. So, again, our defense is just playing stellar football, and they got to keep it up. We've outscored our opponents 76 to 10 in the last 2 games, which again is really, really impressive. So some really good numbers there on all around. On defense, so talk about that a little bit more. We've only given up 436 yards on the ground, which is pretty good for the first 4 games. That's just about 68 yards per game. So our run defense, once again, is pretty stout. We've only given up the 3 touchdowns all year, and one of those touchdowns being on the ground, so the other 2 obviously through the air. And we've recorded 15 sacks already, which, I mean, our wild dogs and our linebackers and even our secondary, we've been having parties in our opponent's backfield. So got to keep that up, got to keep doing what we're doing on defense. We'll switch to offense real quick. Sean Clifford's been playing really, really good football so far. We've completed 65.1% of our passes, 1,264 yards in the first 4 games through the air, and 10 passing touchdowns. Sean having 9 of them, Will Levis having 1. We have 853 rushing yards, and we're averaging 193.5 yards per game and 15 touchdowns on the ground. I mean, so that's Journey Brown, Ricky Slade, Noah Kane, Devin Ford, and even Nick Uri. You know, that's 5 running backs that are finding the end zone and just wreaking havoc on defenses. So we gotta keep that up. Total offense thus far in the 4 games is 2,038 yards. In 4 games, we put up over 2,000 yards. I mean, that's just phenomenal. So we got to keep that up. And I actually added up the numbers. And if we were to stay on the same pace, not speed up or slow down, and granted, I know we got a lot tougher opponents in the future, but if we were to keep at this same pace, we could end the season with over 6,100 yards. I mean, that's college football material, right? That's college football playoff material right there. I don't think I've ever seen Penn State put up that many yards in a season, and if so, it's been a long time. So a lot of stuff to be excited about on both sides of the football. 2 things that I think we really need to work on, though. We've had 16 penalties, and that's obviously 4 per game in 4 games. So at Penn State, we take pride in being disciplined, playing fundamental football, and we hold ourselves to a higher standard. So we got to cut down on the penalties. That's just too many. And we put the ball on the ground 7 times thus far this season. Thankfully, only losing the ball twice, so only fumbling twice. We got it back 5 times, but you can't put the ball on the ground 7 times, especially as we're getting into conference play. So we got to hold on to the ball a little bit better and take care of it. And on a brighter note, we're 19 for 19 in the red zone, and 15 of those 19 trips have been touchdowns. So we're not only finding a way to get to the red zone, but we're finding a way to punch it into the end zone and get 6, 7 points rather than 3. So some guys that just stood out to me quick, and then I'm going to go to Purdue right away. Jan Johnson on defense has been playing just outstanding football. 22 tackles, 1 sack, a forced fumble, and an interception, which was last week in Maryland's first drive, which was a huge tone setter for us. We just fed off of that. So he's been playing great ball. And, obviously Sean Clifford. I mean, the guy has just impressed me more and more each week. Coming off his best game probably of his life last week, he put up 398 yards, last week at Maryland in the shutout. So he's on a roll. He's got a lot of momentum. Our O-line's done a great job of protecting him. I think our O-line stepped up compared to what I thought they would be doing, so they're doing a great job. But Sean Clifford's 9 touchdowns, 1 interceptions. He's thrown for 1,179 yards, and he's averaging 294, about 295 yards per game, which, I mean, as a sophomore, it's his first time really starting this season. All season long he's been playing great. So I'm going to switch over to Purdue quick, and this Purdue team is literally limping into Beaver Stadium. They're led by head coach Jeff Brom, who's 14-16 in his 3rd season at Purdue. A lot of respect for Coach Brom. He knows the game. He's a very intense coach. He's passionate, and he's got a great love for Purdue football. The Boilermakers have got a good one at their head. They got the right guy. They're just trying to figure some things out still. They've been outscored in their first 4 games, 130-17, which isn't terrible, but not good. They're only averaging 29 points per game, which is not good, especially when you get to Big Ten play. They're going to need to really step that up. And they're giving up 33 points per game. And coming into Big Ten play, they got to keep teams out of the end zone. They lost to Nevada their first game by a last-second field goal. Then they beat Vanderbilt at home pretty handedly. They beat them 42-24. Then they lost. They got stomped by TCU the next week, 34-13 at home. And then last week, a loss to Minnesota where they were down pretty big. Fought their way back, just couldn't get it done. The big problem with Purdue right now is their star quarterback, Elijah Sindelar, and their star wide receiver, Rondell Moore, both got hurt on the same play last week. And their quarterback, Elijah Sindelar, is out for the season with a broken clavicle. Wish him a speedy recovery, and that's just sad to hear any team has to go through that, especially their starting quarterback who's very talented. And Rondell Moore pulled his hamstring. And Rondell Moore, a lot of people picked him to be a possible Heisman candidate at the beginning of this season. So they're going to be without their 2 best players. So that's really going to hurt them. The new quarterback coming in is Jack Plummer. He's a redshirt freshman. He's 6'5", 220, so he's a big boy. But he's never played in a Big Ten game before, never played at Beaver Stadium. He's played in 2 games this season. He's thrown for 3 touchdowns, but he's been picked off 4 times. He's got to just be smarter with the football. So I'm interested to see how he's going to play at Beaver Stadium, a tough environment, homecoming weekend here. See what he's going to be able to do for them. I guess the last thing I really got is what to watch for. Obviously, how will Plummer, the redshirt freshman, be able to play in Beaver Stadium and against Penn State defense, which has just been on a roll? So how's he going to perform? And I think we could possibly see their 3rd-string quarterback, junior Danny Corello. So we might see him a little bit. And how does Purdue play without Sindelar Moore? I mean, that's obviously everyone's question right now, especially Purdue fans. On the Penn State side, though, some things to look for. We don't have Micah Parsons for the first half of this game as he was ejected last week for targeting. Going to see how that really affects our defense. Granted, last week it didn't matter. I mean, we didn't need him in there. We still stomped him. So hopefully same scenario for this week, and we'll have him back in the second half. And how does Penn State come off of the big win on the road? I feel like a lot of times when we beat teams, and we beat them pretty good, we'll come out the next week a little flat. So I don't want to see that. I want to see how we come off this 59-0 win at Maryland and just keep rolling with it. That's what I want to see. Another fun fact, Purdue has not beaten Penn State since 2004 when they had Kyle Orton. And that was actually in Beaver Stadium. So it's been a while since Purdue has beaten Penn State. They always seem to play us tough, so I'm hoping for a tough game. But my prediction for this game is Penn State rolls Purdue 59-7. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys learned a little bit about Purdue and a little bit about us. I know I did when I was writing this stuff down. So we'll see you Saturday. Go State.